Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the second webinar episode of ProPak Philippines this 2021. Our theme for today is about packaging industry outlook for 2021, powered by Zoom and broadcast and organized by Informa Markets. This webinar will be moderated by Informa Markets General Manager, Mr. Dexter Dato. Please be informed that we are also live on ProPak Philippines YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook accounts. So just in case you get disconnected here on Zoom or couldn't get in again, you may watch us through our live streams and our social media. Before we start, please be reminded of our housekeeping rules. All microphones and videos of the attendees will be automatically muted and the chat box will be disabled throughout the session. If you have any questions to our speakers, please type it on the Q&A box and we will have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. You can see the Q&A box either on top or at the bottom part of your screen, depending on which device you are using. Should there be any internet disruption during the session, please be patient and try to sign in again. Towards the end of our webinar, we will ask you to complete our survey. Please take a minute to answer the survey before leaving us today. Your feedback will truly help us improve our future events.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those watching us from the other side of the globe. My name is Dexter Dato, and I will be your moderator for this session of ProPak Philippines' second webinar series for 2021, with the theme, Packaging Industry Outlook for 2021. We are very lucky this afternoon to have with us two very distinguished speakers from the packaging industry. One from the Packaging Institute of the Philippines, and our second speaker is from the Australian Institute of Packaging. Both are sister organizations whose main advocacy is the development of the packaging industry globally. Both groups are proud members also of the World Packaging Organization, or WPO, and share WPO's vision of, and I quote, better quality of life through better packaging for more people, end of quote. So without further ado, let me welcome our two distinguished speakers, Mr. John David Soon and Ms. Nerida Kelton. Please turn on your cameras, please, so the audience can see you. Okay, there you go. Hi, JD. Hi, Nerida.
Hello, hi.
Good to have you on board.
Hi, Dexter.
Okay, so without further ado, please allow me to introduce our first speaker. He is currently working as a sales manager for United Polyresins, Inc., a 40-year-old company manufacturing 100% recyclable materials of polyethylene, high-density polyethylene, and polypropylene plastic film bags and sheets. In 2004, they were the first to pioneer and introduce the OXO biodegradable plastic bag in the Philippines. Our first speaker is also part of the Packaging Institute of the Philippines Board of Directors since 2015 and headed the selection and planning of PIP's PhilStar Awards from 2015 to 2017. He was also the association's former vice president and now the newly elected president of the Packaging Institute of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Mr. John David Soon, or JD for short. Hi, JD.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. And so I'll share my video now.
Okay, before you do that, JD, we will have a short poll question first, a poll survey. So if you don't mind, just give us a few minutes. We will have our poll question now. So if you can see.
Sir, sorry, you're on mute, sir.
Sorry, Dana. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me read again the question for the poll survey. Is your company looking into updating or potentially changing your product's packaging? So it's answerable by yes or no, and you have 10 seconds to do so. All right, so time is up. The most number of answers that we got is yes with 73% and no with 27%. Okay, can you share your insights on this, JD?
Hi. So yeah, that's most of us are actually looking into the question, and I know that most of the answers said yes, and that's great because we know that we need to change, or we need to always look into developing our products or improving the packaging of our products. And with the new trends, I hope I could share with my presentation, could give you some insights on this, and well, could give you more detail on what type of packaging you want to improve.
Okay, excellent, JD. So again, without further ado, you can now do your presentation. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Oh. All right. So good afternoon, everyone, and or good morning to anybody across the world. I'd like to first start by thanking ProPak Asia for hosting this webinar and inviting me to speak about packaging trends. Human beings have been faced with a great challenge this year. We faced COVID-19 and the spread across the world, with protocols such as lockdowns and stay-at-home orders changing the way we live. But despite of this, we can still get food from all across the world. We should celebrate packaging and see how important it is to us and how it modeled our current society. So, just a minute. Dana, sorry, how do I press next?
You can share screen, sir, from your end.
I'm sharing, stop. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. There you go. So first things off, I would like to discuss about digital marketing. The COVID pandemic is rapidly accelerating, and the transition to digital commerce have increased. E-commerce orders for groceries and other essentials have become a survival tool. Online orders volume from full assortment groceries merchandise rose 200%. In the Philippines, it actually quadrupled based on DTI. It's actually around 400% it increased. Here in the Philippines, companies such as Zalora, Lazada, and Shopee have thrived during the pandemic, but many companies have already followed suit by using these services or building their own website. With e-commerce, we need to improve our marketing strategies, our products. Some key aspects that we may be utilized are that we may utilize for our products are professional shot products to captivate the buyers, personalized product or creative product design which entice the buyers with a personal feel. Or we could incorporate the unboxing experience. So this is the trend that that that's happened where people are when they have it's like opening a Christmas present on Christmas Day. So that's why they incorporate it. We also see an increase in food deliveries. Due to the pandemic, many of our favorite food and companies have relied in food delivery services. Many restaurants have converted their products to adjust to their customers, making ready to eat meals or easy to cook meals for the service they offer. We can see a surge in homemade products as well here in the Philippines, as many of the companies are still closed. Many
Sorry, JD, you also unmuted yourself.
oh, all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's okay.
So, where did I last you hear me? Sorry about that. Is it in the food delivery? So I'm just gonna go back with food delivery. So due to the pandemic, many of our favorite companies have relied in food delivery services to survive. Many restaurants have converted their products to adjust to their customers' likes, ready to eat meals and easy to cook meals. We can also see surge of new homemade products. Due to this, many companies are still closed and many of their workers got laid off or still not haven't been back to work. So they relied on these type of services. Next is the trend within marketing, packaging, and labeling. We all know that packaging is a great marketing tool to add value to the brand. Packaging differentiates your brand from others. There are thousands of products on the market striving to get customers' attention. Here are some noteworthy designs from variable content to hyper customization. We have here the vintage design, the fine art design, simplistic geometric design, and hyper simplistic design. We can see also a trend with content packaging where where suppliers provide a QR code which give their consumers instructions like recipes, leading to a website to give them recipes or instruction to how to use the products. This is a more tool so that we could be more involved with our customers. Now, another trend will be is more on sustainability. You can see a lot of brands and brands now prioritizing sustainable packaging, social and environmental responsibility as a top priority. But with all the packaging out there, how can we say it's truly sustainable? Here in the Philippines, many cities place plastic bans and regulations to reduce the waste of plastic pollution. But based on the current events, we actually see that with the ban, it increased the waste of the cities. Now, what is sustainable? Many of us were brought up with the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle in our vocabulary. Today, it's essential we develop our products to reflect these values. Each product above can show that they have these type of goals in mind. But if you look closely, these packaging may cause more harm than good. We have the two pictures on the left, on the top left. We can see that they use two different materials, which laminated together. This actually increased the harder to dispose materials because of the bond of using paper and plastic and lamination. So it's hard to recycle these products again. We can see here in the third picture that they use, uh, which is a great idea, where they actually have two materials. We have that can be separated. We have the cardboard outer layer and the innermost, uh, which barrier layer. You can see that you can actually separate this, but this can also cause more pollution due to the separating or giving our consumers more effort to separate their products. We can see here on the fourth picture, another that they use water bottles to uh, they use a Tetra Pak to conceal the water bottles, but it could they could use a better material to for their product. Many develop Many of the development right now with packaging are currently made in recycled material. Like in flexibles, they are trying to develop monomaterial to improve the recyclability of the material. We can see also a research in bacteria that can eat plastic. Another Other countries have also incorporated waste to energy means where they use waste to produce energy. And I hope that all of these solutions can actually mitigate or improve the use of our packaging. With sustainable packaging, currently, because of our concern with our planet, we should properly look closely at the packaging we are using, in our products. Look at the packaging from cradle to grave. Look for packaging that has low carbon footprint for products from production to disposal. We cannot we cannot blame one product as a cause of poor waste management on our part. We should just be reminded not to only teach the public about choosing the best packaging, but also how to dispose of it properly. We should balance the safety, protection, and sustainability option. I hope you have learned something today. The Packaging Institute of the Philippines is a national association to promote the recognition of packaging as a science and as a professional, and to stimulate good packaging consciousness in the industry. And among consumers, current members in the PIP consist of users, manufacturers, and suppliers of the packaging material and services. Thank you, and that's my presentation.
Thank you so much, JD, for that wonderful presentation. I think we have a lot of learnings on what you have presented, especially on food deliveries and sustainable packaging. I guess it's sustainable packaging is now in everybody's mind. However, because of the pandemic, I think there are questions now on what are the priorities, no, of many of our companies. Anyways, I think we can tackle more of this in the Q&A portion.
All right, sir.
So let us move on. Yeah, thank you, JD, again. Let us move on to our second speaker for this afternoon. Our next speaker has worked in the packaging industry for over 22 years and is committed in helping educate and train packaging professionals in the importance of sustainable and circular packaging design and recognizing best practice in this area. She's also passionate about educating the industry on the important role that packaging plays in minimizing food waste and how designing safe food packaging can make a difference. She is the AIP lead, that's the Australian Institute of Packaging lead for the Safe Food Packaging Consortium project within the Fight Food Waste Cooperative Research Center, and was the packaging representative of the Department of Environment and Energy's National Food Waste Strategy Steering Committee. Our next speaker is currently based in Brisbane, Australia, and she is the Executive Director for the Australian Institute of Packaging and Vice President for Sustainability and Safe Food of the World Packaging Organization, or WPO. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Ms. Nerida Kelton, MAIP. Hi, Nerida.
Good afternoon, Dexter, and thank you for having me today.
Okay, Nerida, before you start with your presentation, please allow us to have this second poll question or poll survey. All right, you have seen the question flashed on your screen, everyone. Let me read the question for you. Is your business, no, sorry, this is I think this is our second poll question. Okay. Is your business considering redesigning your packaging to incorporate reuse and refillable options? Okay, the answer is yes or no. We'll give you 10 seconds for this. All right, time is up. I think we have a majority who answered yes, 82%, and no with 18%. So can you share some insights on this, Nerida?
Look, I think that's really positive to see. Obviously, there is going to be a little bit of work to redesign for reuse and refill, and we'll certainly get into that in my presentation, but really encouraging to see that people are looking at their waste hierarchy and trying to incorporate reuse as one of their options for sustainable packaging. So that's great to see.
Okay, excellent. So let us now turn over the floor to Ms. Nerida as she speaks about reusable and refillable packaging. Nerida, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see it, Nerida.
Excellent. So thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much to Informa Markets and ProPak Philippines for having the Australian Institute of Packaging and myself here today. We are a very strong supporter of Informa Markets in Asia. And for most of you who know, we have been there right beside you for ProPak Philippines since its inception, and we can't wait to be back in person with you, fingers crossed, hopefully next year. We are very proud as an institute to be a sister association of the Packaging Institute of Packaging and the World Packaging Organization. The Philippines Institute of Packaging and the AIP are remarkably similar in that we are peak professional bodies for packaging, training and education. And where we can assist you in the Philippines and any parts of Asia that are dialing in today is the degree level. So anyone that's listening today that needs assistance with master's degrees, diplomas, certificates in packaging, you name it, we have it. It's all available online, and we are here to help you in every journey that you need with your education. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my slides to work. Sorry, going old school. Okay, so today we're going to talk about refillable packaging, and obviously in the waste hierarchy we discussed, and certainly JD was talking about it, that we do discuss reduce, reuse and recycle. And what I would like to talk to you today is about the reuse or refillable option. Now, we discuss refillable and reusable as a new option, but it isn't. It's something that has been happening for many decades. And if we go back to even my great-grandparents and my grandparents' era, they were using refillable and reusable packaging, and very successfully. Obviously, with the introduction of plastics into the world, things changed and consumer convenience changed, and then we unfortunately saw it disappear. But when we're talking about sustainable packaging and we're talking about moving our packaging to more sustainable options, we do have to look at reducing, reusing and refillable options. So consumers are literally going back in time now, and they're now looking at what are viable reusable and refillable options for us, and how can we redesign our packaging from a brand perspective for reuse and refill. So the Ellen MacArthur Foundation in 2019 developed a new plastics economy initiative, and one of the things that they did was introduce reuse as a model. And they identified that converting 20% of global plastic packaging into reuse models offers a $10 billion business opportunity. They identified and developed a 6-point reuse model, and I would encourage everybody here today that is looking at designing their packaging in reuse or refillable options to use this model. And what they have identified is that it cuts costs, it is available to adapt to individual needs, it optimizes operations. Number 4 is really, really important. It builds brand loyalty. It improves user experience, and it gathers intelligence. So the reuse model is broken down into 4 different models. One is refill at home, one is return from home, one is refill on the go, and the 4th one is return on the go. So I just wanted to talk through with you each of the 4 models just so that you understand the differences between them. So refill at home. This model is when users refill their reusable containers at home. It works really well for e-commerce, and it enables communication of the integrated solutions at the time so that there's no competition for shelf space for products that are sold in standard packaging. Refill on the go. And this is one that we're seeing more and more of in many markets around the world. And this model is when users refill their containers away from home. And this is traditionally been in an in-store dispensing system. So the refill on the go model requires physical stores or dispensing points so that the person can go in and refill their packs. So then we have return from home. Return from home is when packaging is picked up from the home by a pickup service. So if you think about TerraCycle as an example, that is one model of a return from home. This model is suitable for e-commerce as well because they can pick up the empty packaging and also the delivery of the new products and the new orders. We then have return on the go. And this model is when users return the packaging at a store or a drop-off point. And this is a really good substitute for single-use packaging. Now, if you are looking at redesigning your packaging for reuse and refill, you do need to look at ensuring that your packaging is sustainable. But what we would encourage you to do is to first start with a life cycle assessment, because you cannot make an assumption that your packaging is going to be sustainable for the product that you've got within the packaging. You need to make sure that you have a life cycle assessment model undertaken first to ensure that if you are moving from this particular material to this one, that it is in fact an equal or lower environmental impact when you're moving to the new packaging. You also need to ensure that you have very high standards of hygiene and safety for the cleaning. You need to make sure you've got extremely regulated cleaning protocols, and you need to make sure that you're talking to the consumers to show them that you have the highest possible standards for hygiene and safety. You also need to consider that your program needs to be intuitive. So it needs to be something easy for us. So it needs to be affordable. It needs to have a loyalty program. There needs to be incentives around it. And it needs to be easy. So easy to either pick up and take and refill or collect from home and refill, but it needs to be easy. So the other thing that I would encourage you to do is build a loyalty program around this. Encourage people, incentivize your customers to make sure that they are getting something out of this. They're being rewarded for being more sustainable and actively trying to refill their packs and to minimize the unnecessary single-use plastic that is currently in the markets. So refillable and reusable packaging is a very positive step to minimizing environmental footprints for brands. And what I wanted to show you was some examples, because there is more and more examples coming out on a daily basis, and it is so encouraging to see. A lot of these are being trialed just to see if consumers will embrace it, because this does require consumer behaviour changes, but it is pleasing to see across a broad range of products that this is happening. Now, predominantly you will see it at the moment in beauty, household, domestic cleaning products, things like that. And then we are slowly seeing a shift in the food and beverage area as well. So this is Olay, and Olay is a moisturizer, and what they have done was develop a refillable container, and you'll see on the right hand side there's a little pod, there's a little refillable container, and it's designed to encourage people to refill it. So keep the outer and just put the refill in, and so just making sure that you're not using too much packaging and you're just refilling it as you need it. This one is an Australian company, and they are a company called Nature's Organics, and they just developed this last year, and they did an LCA assessment on this first to determine that this was the right material to move to. They moved to an aluminium reusable bottle, and they use a Red Cycle, which is a soft plastics flexible program that we have for recyclable pouches, as their refill pouch option. They also ensured that there was no water transported as well in their products, and they have a little capsule that comes in these boxes so that you can go home and put the capsule into your aluminium can, your aluminium bottle, and then use your water from home. So that actually has some optimization for transport as well. P&G in Europe recently launched their refill options, which you'll see here, and they selected 4 of their ranges in their shampoos. And again, they have their standard shampoo bottle, and then they have a pouch to refill it. And they have replaced 300 million tonnes of virgin plastic bottles just by moving to this option. And they've also reduced their virgin plastic by 50% in shampoo and conditioner bottles. And you'll see more and more companies doing this across shampoo ranges. Nivea has an in-store option in Germany, and what they have done is they've developed these shower gel refill stations in store, And as you'll see on the picture, it's very clear instructions, it's very intuitive, so the consumer can go up and refill their packs in store. Loop is very famous and very successful at doing this, and they have developed a reusable and durable refillable option to single-use packaging, and they are increasingly adding more and more brands to their ranges. Loop, TerraCycle, and have a look at them if you don't know who they are. They're doing amazing work, and they do it across all of the 4 models of the reuse models. They have developed all of their packaging through LCA, and they make sure that they identify that every pack that you can see there is used so many times to ensure its sustainability, to make sure that it has the lowest environmental impact, it's durable, it's sturdy, and that it's transportable, easily transportable and reused. So they have a lot of thought with their packaging design, not only their transportation optimization models, but also their packaging. They do a lot of work in their design to ensure that all of their packaging is sustainable. This is one of their ranges, which is really clever, and it was done through Nestle for Häagen-Dazs. And this is a reusable and refillable container that they develop for all of us to put our ice cream in at home. So they will refill it with your favorite ice cream, and then you can return it with your next order, and they will obviously clean it, and then you can get some more ice cream on your next order. And this is a really clever option. And they've also technically designed this canister to ensure that when opened, that the ice cream melts more quickly at the top than at the bottom of the container, and you can hold it and it isn't too cold to hold. So you can literally sit in bed and eat your ice cream and it's not going to freeze your hand, which I think is fantastic. Murray River Organics is an Australian example where they've moved their muesli range to a reusable PET canister. Now, PET is recyclable in Australia, but what they're also looking at doing, the second stage, is a pouch, so a refillable pouch, so that people can just literally buy the pouch and keep this container at home. And you'll see more and more these days in-store refill stations, and they are just fantastic. And for me, I just think, personally, I think this is great. And I can't wait to see one of these refill stations locally in my region. They are in Victoria, they are in Sydney, they are in New Zealand, but it's a wonderful option for us to be able to go back in store and refill all our cleaning products, all our shampoos and moisturizers. It's just a great option. Eco Store refill stations now have 100 refill stations across New Zealand alone. They are an environmentally friendly, eco-conscious brand. They're very famous in New Zealand. They have been rolling out these refill stations all across Asia, so hopefully you will see them in the Philippines as well. And you can take your 5-litre and 20-litre products back and refill them, and the customers can choose what size they want. The Body Shop, for those who know the history of the Body Shop, the founder of the Body Shop developed refill as an option 30, 40 years ago. She tried it, she trialed it, and unfortunately at the time, consumers were not engaged with it and it wasn't successful. Now, because we're in a different world with sustainable packaging, it is successful, and the Body Shop have brought it back. And they have, not only do they have refill stations in many, many stores around the world, but they also have options for at home. And also they have disposable areas where you can dispose of your plastics in store, and then they've developed a closed loop program to take that away and repurpose it into other packaging. Nestle has slowly rolled out refill stations across a number of their categories. This one is for pet food. And again, it's nice and easy, it's in store, and it's very intuitive, and you can go in, refill all of your pet food and go home. The smarts behind this, the intelligent packaging behind this, allows digital communication with the consumers so that they can understand a little bit more about the product, the ingredients, shelf life, etc. So there's a lot of smarts that go behind the refill station so that they can continually communicate and talk to the consumers all the way through to the household. There are shower gel refill stations being trialled all over the world. This is one of the examples of one, which is the Nivea refill station. And I think you'll start to see more and more of these in all retail outlets across the world. This one is a water bottle system, which is a durable refillable glass water bottle system. And it's established in America, and it's been designed as an on-site batch bottling company, which provides water for commercial venues like hotels and college campuses. The most important aspect of the Boomerang Craft Water program is that they really do push the sanitization and the hygiene and the cleanliness of their system, and they ensure that it's all purified water, and they're very big on making sure that they are eliminating as much unnecessary single-use plastic as possible. They partnered with OI, which is Owens, Illinois, which is a large glass company, to make sure that they developed a really durable, refillable glass water bottle. Now, I don't think that's going to play on here, so I might jump to this one. There is a video that if you get access to these slides at the end, just before this slide, there's a video which talks a little bit about the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that video. That is it for me. And hopefully you learned something about all the wonderful refill options that are now available around the world.
Thank you so much, Nerida, for that wonderful presentation. We were able to see a lot of these initiatives, from these large corporations and FMCGs, consumer companies, having their initiatives on sustainable and refillable packaging. Now, I particularly like the one of Nestle with the refillable coffee stations, and Nivea, the shower gel refill. I really like it. And yeah, I think I have read somewhere, that Nestle is a big multinational company here in the country, in the Philippines. And I think the mother company has already made a statement early on that one of their goals is to make 100% of their packaging reusable and recyclable by 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And well, this is really a very big initiative for the Nestle Group. And I think they also want to really eliminate plastic waste. They even put up this Nestle Institute of Packaging Sciences, I believe, just recently, to study all of these packaging initiatives. So yes, thank you so much, Nerida. That was a wonderful presentation. And let us now go to our most awaited portion, which is our Q&A. And I would like to encourage everyone. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and can you please just put in your questions on the Q&A box, which you can see at the top or at the bottom of your screen, depending on the device that you're using. And then we will try as much as possible to read all your questions. However, if we will not be able to tackle any of your questions, we will definitely send them over to our speakers, and hopefully they can send you back for their responses to this one. Okay. So JD and Nerida, are you ready for the Q&A? A lot of questions here, I see. Okay, let me throw the first question.
Actually, I answered some of the questions already. You're in mute, sir, Dexter. You're muted.
Okay, JD, sorry about that again. I don't know why this keep on muting. Anyways, let me see some of the questions that I have here that I will ask both of you. There's a comment here from Ron Gardiner. I think he mentioned this is addressed to you, Nerida. I think I enjoyed your presentation, Nerida. The UK and Northern Ireland are introducing a DRS scheme to encourage tax return, and the cost will be approximately 10% of retail value of goods. Is Australia introducing a similar scheme? And do you think 10% is enough to encourage tax return to stores?
Good question, Ron. I mean, talking for Australia, we have container deposit schemes, obviously. So we have container deposit schemes across most of the states, not all of the states here, and they are incentivized with a percentage back to you, so they reward you with money. Obviously, a very good incentive for children, because it gives them pocket money, so that it rewards them. It's not obviously a large amount of money. In terms of in retail store percentages, like I don't know of any financial return schemes currently available. The incentive is more a reward scheme, so it'll be to do with like the shampoo or the conditioner and being able to get free products, etc., or discounts on those products. But I have to come back to you offline, but I can't think of any immediately that are doing in-store incentivized programs. For customers, I can't think of one at the moment other than the container deposit schemes, which are outside of stores. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, and I don't know what the Philippines are doing, JD, whether you've got any incentivized programs as yet in retail stores.
Currently, most of the multinational companies have been incorporating this, that type of return. But with the new, one of the bills that the House of Representatives are trying to pass is the more where the suppliers and product owners will have more responsibility with their packaging.
Yeah.
Mhm. But it's still not being passed, and we need to wait for them to give us an IRR once if they pass the law. So it's still not clear, but most of the multinational companies have tried to do such things.
Yeah, thanks, JD. I don't know about you, but I can remember when I was in college, whenever my friends and I would have a drinking session, when I bring a case of beer to the supermarket, they would charge me for a deposit. Okay. And then after that, when we return the case of the empty bottles, they return the deposit to us. So I don't know if this is.
Yes.
Yes, sir. It's actually being done by multinational. For example, San Miguel is still doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, example for the bottles, the
Yeah.
bottles of like, so they still need to remember if you go to here in the small stores like the tindahan, if we call them, well, they put it in a plastic bag, or you could or you use the bottle. But if you use the bottle, you need to have a deposit first, so they'll
Yeah.
return you the
Yeah,
deposit.
Dexter, we have South Australia as a state have never got rid of their incentive program, their container deposit scheme. They've always had it. They've had it for 50 years. And it's always been, originally was glass, and then it moved into the cans as well. And now all of a sudden all the other states are sort of deciding that they want to be a part of it as well. But as kids, we used to always get all the cans and the glass bottles because it was pocket money for us. So there was an incentive for us to go and collect it all. And then now you look at it, and that's a profession around the world. There are collectors that do that, and that's how they earn their living.
Yeah. My thinking then was probably because the cost of bottles are really, really high. That's why San Miguel would have this deposit scheme, so that they can recycle and reuse. Otherwise,
well, it goes back to the closed loop program and the circular program that it controls they can control their own materials. So it's the same with the container deposit schemes. It's their ability to be able to control the materials and the quality of the materials that they use to recycle their packaging. So,
yeah. Actually, there's a follow-up question here from Rom. Let me just read it to both panelists. The number one item of waste in Ireland, so Ron is from Ireland, is Coca-Cola PET bottles. So his question is, what are the number one litter items in Australia and the Philippines?
Good question, Ron. You're asking all the good questions today. I'm going to make an assumption and say it's PET bottles. But in saying that, that's an assumption, anecdotal. The one that is coming up now, which is a poor one, which is really unacceptable, is PPE, which we've all got around the world. So masks, gloves, because of COVID. But I think predominantly it would be PET bottles in Australia.
Yeah. Well, here in the Philippines, it's more of the single, because most of our countrymen cannot afford the big bottle, so it's more of the sachets.
Yeah.
Is the number one waste for us here. And if you try to ban this material out, it will cause the poor to have issues because they can only buy those single-use products for their needs.
Okay, let me jump to the next question. This is for Nerida on reusable, refillable products, especially for food. How do you measure the shelf life of these products?
So the shelf life of the product would be the same, whether it's in any type of packaging material, unless you're referring to the life cycle assessment of the packaging, moving from one particular material to another. I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question because there's no difference on shelf life for products moving it to reusable or refillable options, as long as you've got the right materials. So as long as you've chosen the right materials.
Sure, Dexter, you're in mute.
There's a question here from Joey Adriatico. I guess this is addressed to JD because it mentions about the Philippines. Any new developments and innovation to address sachet usage in the Philippines, which is a large contributor of plastic pollution? I think you mentioned earlier about sachets, so you are right. And maybe share what other countries are using as benchmark. JD, you're on mute also.
Hi, as Nerida pointed out, like P&G and also Unilever have incorporated the refilling stations to improve this. But as we can see that the film are trying to develop a monolayer product, monolayer to make it more recyclable. So it's more of PE and PE. Metallocene is basically what they're trying to discover, and you won't need to use the laminate, the multiple barriers. You can have multiple barriers, but they're gonna make it one material to make it easier for them to recycle. Because the issue with the laminated material right now is that when you recover or when you throw it out, you can't recover it again or use it or recycle it back to the same. So most of it, what they use is like to make bricks out of it. You change it to a different material, essentially.
Yeah, and that's the same in Australia and many other parts. We have a program called Red Cycle, red being the colour. If anyone wants to have a look at it, it's a soft plastics closed loop program where we as consumers are incentivized to return all of our soft plastics in store. And there are bins in all the retailers at the front of the stores, and we put all of our soft plastics in there, and then they take it and reprocess it into furniture, roads, patios, decks for the, out near your pools. So they're reprocessing it into another product.
Okay, thanks, Nerida. There's a question here for you. Based on experience in your country, which of the 4 reuse models is deemed more efficient in both cost and execution over the others?
Excellent question. So most of the reuse model is new to anywhere in the world. So there really isn't any science at the moment to prove which is the most efficient model. What a lot of the examples that I've shown you are trials. And so they are trials, and there are not too many retailers that are rolling it out across every single store that they have. They're trialing it in specific regions and countries. So I think it's a wait and see. For me personally, as a consumer, I want the easiest and most affordable option, which is for me potentially going in store. That's for me, but everyone is different. So the trials will determine that. And I think you'll find that the 4 models will be used differently around the world depending on the customers.
All right, thanks, Nerida. I guess we have time for one more question, one last question. Let me address this to JD. Okay, with a lot of recent directives, and executive orders from our local governments or LGUs about single-use plastics, what would you suggest these companies who are using single-use plastics? Or probably maybe you can share also what is the PIP's position regarding this single-use plastics banning?
Well, currently, if you think about the single-use plastic, it's more of not the issue with the single-use plastic. It's more of because currently what they do is they ban, like in the cities I explained that they ban the plastic, but they change it with paper, for example, or they convert it to a different material. But the behavior of the people is still remains the same. Mean that they throw away the waste. Like Nerida mentioned, in Australia they have these bins to recover all these materials, and that's basically what we're lacking. We lack the recovery. Some countries actually, if you have more waste at home, you pay more for the trash collection to collect your waste, right? If you have more trash, then you pay more for more trash. If the person is like you really protect your waste or limit the waste that you pay uh, less for trash collection. But here in the Philippines, they don't do that. So it's not that for us, the manufacturers, it's hard to collect it again because of the waste management system works. They just collect the trash and they don't have how to separate it. There's no recycling. We have like a lot of recycling out there, but it's not being practiced. So for the manufacturers, it's hard to recollect their trash or re-recycle all of this material. Normally, what we recycle is the one that we produce rather than the one from consumer waste.
Okay, got you. So I guess what you're saying is, it is not the the single-use plastics per se, but it's more of addressing the entire issue of waste collection, right?
Yeah.
And segregation probably, and proper disposal of waste.
Yes.
Dexter, it's also about every single person here today is a consumer, and
Yes.
we collectively around the world have to refuse, and that's the one part that we're not doing. So single-use plastic is unnecessary, problematic materials, non-recyclable, difficult to recycle, and then most of the time we don't need to have those plastic plates and cups because we can go home or we can have something that's reusable or refillable. And I would encourage everybody that when you go and buy this stuff, refuse it and only buy it if you need it, because the more of us that can refuse it in the start or buy a reusable option, the less we're going to have problems with single-use plastic down the track. We're all consumers. We can say no.
I agree. So maybe
I
another
agree
would be
also.
to put a lot of these refillable stations all over the place, right? In supermarkets, in the sari-sari store, in neighborhood stores, a lot of refill stations. So we don't need to go to the single-use plastics. Okay, thank you so much, JD and Ms. Nerida, for this wonderful session this afternoon. I think that's about it for our Q&A. Can I turn over now to Dana?
Thank you so much to our dear speakers and Sir Dexter. So again, we would like to remind you all again, after this webinar, you will be redirected to our survey form, or you may scan the QR code flashing on your screen right now. So please answer the survey to help us serve you better in our events next time. All right. So to know more about ProPak Philippines' latest activities and updates, please follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and check our website, which are now flashing on your screens. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate your time and participation. We would also like to thank you, our dear speakers, Mr. John David Soon and Ms. Nerida Kelton, MAIP, for lending us your time to speak for today's webinar. The presentation materials, except of the speakers, are owned and copyrighted by Informa Markets. The speakers are solely responsible for their content and opinions. So on behalf of our guest, Mr. John David Soon, Ms. Nerida Kelton, MAIP, and our moderator, Mr. Dexter Dato, I am Dana. Until next webinar episode of ProPak Philippines. Have a great day and stay safe!